up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by. Your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Wednesday. That means it's time for the Hump Day Happy Hour.
Hump Day.
Well, we got a crew tonight. We'll go around the board just as soon as we tell these guys that they're absolutely awesome. I'll be honest with you. I say that I'm not full-time YouTube, but these guys have convinced me that I am. So, I mean, it's probably getting pretty close to where I am full-time YouTube. And it's a big thanks to these guys right here because I'll be honest, they keep me going. Very, very awesome. And these guys here, I can't say enough about them as well. No changes in the board this week, but that's all right. We'll keep these guys around as long as they want to be here. All right. So, man, we got a full crew tonight. Let's go around the room and say hi. We'll start down there in the corner with the little guy. Go ahead, little guy.
Little guy. Hey, how's everybody?
What you been into, PP, man?
Oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Trying to activate 3 parks a day as a religion. So going to church 3 times a day. Pota church.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with the Pota church.
Yep, Pota church.
I mean, I see where you're going here. You are trying to change from a jester to like the religious guy, right? The priest, yeah.
No, I don't think he was called a priest. I'll have to look that one up. I don't know what he was called.
I'm trying to remember what he is. Was he clergy? I don't know.
I'll look it up. I'll get you.
We'll figure it out. I see where you're going, but Terry's not going to let you leave him alone. Terry
we kind of like substitute for each other every once in a while.
Terry don't like to sleep alone in the jester's quarters. So
whoa. But even a bad day at the church is a good day away from my desk. That's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. My desk happens to be a DX10, so I like my desk.
That's a good desk to have. Yeah.
But what's going on, tall guy?
Hey, James. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, I just been doing some hunting. Haven't been activated as much, working on the house a little bit, before the weather changes, and just pretty much trying to get some hunting in, here and there, but definitely not activating in the past month. So haven't been to church.
Oh, man. That's a bad thing when you go backsliding like that, man. We'll have to send an intervention to you or something. What's going on, Larry?
Nothing much, James. How's everybody tonight?
What in the world does that sound, Dan?
I don't know.
I'm your Huckleberry.
No, it's not. I'm your Huckleberry.
The gremlins have came.
Gremlins.
All right. I don't know what that is, but we'll try to figure that out. All right, Dan, what about you? What's going on?
Not a whole bunch. Hold on. Let me mute that and see. Tall guy, I think it's your speakers feeding back into the mic again. Not a lot, man. Finally passed 5,500 parks hunted, so got that, and on my way to 6,000. Slow going, but we're getting there, chugging away.
Slow going, yeah. I'm on my way to 6,000 hunted or activated parks. I'm just a long way off.
Yeah, you'll get there.
I will. I'm sure I will. I don't want nobody laying down that challenge because I'm trying to take it a little bit easier, but I will get there. That's for sure. Hey, thank you very much, Chris, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Yeah, for myself, I've been doing what I do. It's getting closer and closer. I'm not really in my full busy time of the year yet. But it's getting closer, and people can probably tell that I've really started to increase my activations. It's going up, I'm typically around 5 to 7 a day again. So, there are days where I don't get it, but, hey, hands off the PP, man, because, I'm not a normal person. So me saying 5 to 7, like it's normal, but 3 parks a day. Let me tell you, I told him, I said, you'll burn out. You won't do it. You won't do it long because it'll burn you out. So,
I'm going on 2 months.
Rookie numbers, buddy. Rookie numbers.
You got to start at the bottom somehow. You know.
But yeah, that's something to do 3 a day because it'll keep you busy. But I put out a little post to my Patreons. I put out they get daily updates every day. And one day this week I was kind of ranting a little bit, because you get people that will always tell you, well, I had to do this with my family, and I had to do that with work, and I had to do this around the house, and you can still make time for it if you want to. Last Saturday, I went to a festival with family, was there for a while, for quite a while, actually. I did 2 parks, then went to my grandson's ball game, was there for like 3 hours, and then went out and did 2 late shifts. So, you can do it if you want to do it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that because I could talk about that all night. We're here to talk about some stuff nobody wants to talk about, probably, and that's band conditions. You know what? I'm going to let these guys right here start because my feelings on band conditions and their feelings are different. So we'll just go around the room. PP man, how's the band's been for you?
I work them. They're okay. They play nice some days. They play not so nice other days. Today was terrible, but we made it happen. I did have to cheat on the second activation. I had to. Actually, it was so bad. I said, you know what? I'm going to get lunch. I went and got lunch, came back, and I went QRO. That's why I showered tonight because I did a little bit of QRO.
Okay, so on this note, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you spent an hour on QRP and got 6 or 8 contacts.
No, that was the first activation. That was the first one.
8 contacts, and then you went back and you went QRO. And how long did it take you to get from 8 to 14?
Oh, 10 minutes. It wasn't quick.
So it wasn't quick. So 8 to 14. That's 6. You got 8 in an hour, and 6 in 10 minutes. Have we learned a lesson here?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not giving up my QRP rigs. Sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
All right.
I feel. You know what? I actually like today, I was doing QR because the mosquitoes are still terrible here. I was doing QRO inside the car, and it just doesn't feel right. It just does not go. It's like going to church in a tent. It just doesn't feel right.
Nobody said you had to do QRO in the car. You can do QRO the same place
and not give up blood. No, them vicious birds are stinging everywhere.
Also, so if you're doing QRP, the mosquitoes don't bite you because they already know you're stupid, right?
No, the second park I was at was terrible. The first park was fine because it's by the beach, so it's fine. It's the second park, which is a game land. That one was tough. It's always tough.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's swamp. It's nothing but swamp back there.
I think the worst I've ever been attacked was when I was activating with Roy down in Florida. I don't know what those bugs were, but they were the most brutal bugs. We were doing a late shift, and they were the most brutal bugs that they were biting chunks out of my skin, like chunks. I don't know what.
We got a breed of mosquitoes in the last 2 years that are literally the size of my thumbnail. I mean, it's not like you can mistake and not see them hit you, and land on you. They're huge. They don't even sound the same when they're flying around your head. They're just vicious little animals.
Sound like little pterodactyls.
I swear.
All right. So before we move on to the next one, why do you think the band conditions are so bad?
Well, the sun's not playing nice. We only had was it 12 sunspots, 11 sunspots right now? And I know I always say I never look at that. I just go out and do it, and which I do. It doesn't stop me. I personally think the hunters are light. And the reason I say that is both activations, I was hitting far distances. I was going to Spain. I was going to Florida. Today at 11:30, I hit Miramar, Florida, on QRP. I mean, that's a good distance. That's a good poke. Where were the people in between? Where were the people in Gulf Alpha? Where were the people in Texas? Where were the people in Louisiana?
That guy you hit in Florida was probably retired. That's why he's on the radio at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So the hunters just aren't there. Yeah.
You say that, but I'm going to disagree because Discord's been full of people the last couple of days wanting to hunt and complaining because the bands are bad. So I don't think it's the hunters.
I think it's the lack of hunters during the day, because at night I'll go out and do my third park at night and I'll get 60 with no problem.
That's because people are home from work.
Yeah, there you go. The hunters are there. I don't think it's the bands as much as the lack of hunters. And always, as the week goes on, tomorrow's going to be a lot better than Monday is. Monday's a terrible day. It's like everybody's like hungover from the weekend or something, and nobody's playing radio. Tuesday gets a little bit better. Wednesday gets a little bit better. Thursday, Friday is awesome. It's like nobody works on Friday, I think, because Fridays are usually pretty good.
I don't know what weird flavor of peanut butter Eddie's talking about, but for the $4.99 super chat, I'll try to produce it for you, Eddie. So just send me an email and we'll try to get you on the board for whatever flavor you're looking for. But
that's my thoughts on the bands.
All right, so Tall Guy, how's the bands been for you?
Now you're breaking up.
Uh-oh.
Eddie's internet.
I think he said he's going to leave and come back in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll let you come back in a second and see what you can figure out. We'll go to Larry. Larry, wait a minute. First, before I go to Larry, PP Man, did you activate yesterday?
Yes.
And you felt like the bands were better yesterday or worse?
Same.
Okay. Because I know Larry's answer to this. Larry, how's the bands been for you?
Yesterday was a dumpster fire. That's the best way I could say it. As far as hunting, it was terrible. Now, I went out and activated last night, 2100, I believe it was, at 2230 or 2200, I activated. 2330, I ended 125 contacts, 20 and 40 meters. It was beautiful last night. Then today, hunting, great. It was like, I don't know, 40, 50 contacts in the log just today.
But I'll back up and say it's been way over 2 years since I've had a failed activation. So when your expectations are 12 contacts, it's not hard to get 12 contacts. I get a lot more in the last 6 months than I did 2.5 years ago, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I don't have that frame of reference. I just started December hunting last year and activating July. So, yeah, with the sunspot activity, sure, I believe you.
Well, what confuses me is, we're on the up cycle, but I'm going to tell you, last year at this time, and for the last 2 or 3 months last year, a year ago, was 100% better than this year at this time, and we're supposed to be further along in the cycle. So that's kind of what confuses me about it, because last year I was not having this issue at all.
Well, I think there's things that play a role in that, like the solar wind and your what I call the BZ, that's the magnetic field, and how it's pulling on the Earth. And when those are a factor into things, your sunspot number, I don't want to say doesn't matter, but it's affected by that, and your solar flux is affected. Because if you just go by solar flux and sunspot number, we should be crushing it right now. We should be on 10 meters making tons of Qs, but because of the magnetic force on the Earth and the way it works with radio waves, right now we're not in a good place. And that usually happens with coronal mass injections, the auroras, and the solar storms. So once your K index gets, some say above 4, some say 4, you got your solar storm, you're in trouble. And for me, the only time that seems to really work the best is right around Grapevine. But if you try to push 40 meters during the day when it's like this, it's like trying to drive a car through a wall. if I can hit into, Kentucky, I'm doing pretty good, and some of them people even running, kilowatts have a hard time, especially in daytime. But once you get around gray line at night, if you're trying to activate and you need to make a few cues, that shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, the evenings are great. What was it, 3 weeks ago, Dan? 4 weeks ago, when you texted me and said Europe is wide open, and I switched over to 20, and they just lit my radio up. Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome. I think we should look at the Dow Jones stock ticker and see if it's any relation to that, because it's down.
So, Tall Guy, how's the bands been for you in general?
20 meters hasn't been too friendly to me during the day. Like, a lot of people are activating when I'm hunting, because I've been doing a little bit more hunting lately. 20 meters has been rough, so I've been trying to push 40 in the evening just to try to get some hunting cues in. I don't know if yins are experiencing the same thing, but even I like to work David and Annabelle on 17. I can barely hear them. I've been trying to get them on 20, and for some reason I get a little propagation down there to the DR. But other than that, everyone, I was trying to work Jeremy today on 20 just before your show. I couldn't even hear him, and he's a guy I always work on 40. So like I said, I wait till around gray line and this time, and I just been getting on 40 and crossing my fingers. But I'm vertically polarized here too. I don't know if that plays a role, because a lot of POTA people are horizontally polarized or have a wire in a tree, and I think that also plays a role in propagation and whenever you're running lower wattage.
There we go. There's something to talk about. PP man, what do you're normally horizontal, right?
No, I'm inverted V normally.
Okay.
I'd say probably 90% of the time inverted V.
All right. What about you, Larry?
Vertical.
Vertical. Dan?
90% of the time inverted V.
Okay, and I'm vertical. So I'm wondering how much of a play that comes in with the times and stuff like that. With the way the propagation is. I'd like to test that. I think that'd be a good video. Maybe go out one day when the bands are just horrible, throw up a dipole, an inverted V, and a vertical, and see what's working best that day. I think that'd be interesting.
The only recent test I have is that compromised MFJ 1886, is it? I think it's called. I'd start on activation with that QRP, and halfway through the activation, I take it down and put the inverted V up, or a random wire. Now the random wire is so short; it's only 34 feet. I'll throw that. I'll toss the weight up into a tree, and that thing's damn near vertical. And that does well. That random wire does really well with a 9-to-1. It does real well.
Interesting topic, though. I would like to test that a little bit, just to see what plays better in the bad conditions and stuff. Because I mean, they do all work differently. That's for sure. I've been in places and seen different people use things that work different, but the conditions were okay then. You know what I'm saying? But it comes into play, I'm sure.
About I'd say it was middle of last year, I did a test with VE3 Larry, and it was between the Chameleon and a Sloper end fed in the backyard. I was just in the backyard, and I was switching back and forth, and I think a couple other people chimed in, and definitely my Chameleon MPass 2.0 was nowhere near as good as the wire. Nowhere near as good. And those were all close contacts. Those were all 200 miles or less.
Well, I'm not a big fan of that vertical.
Neither am I. I don't know why I still have it.
So I myself would not find that a fair shotgun game there, but
a lot of people swear by that thing, though.
I would put my Eagle 1 versus a wire and compare them. because, and conditions can change in an hour, and I know that. But, I've been at parks plenty of times and used the Eagle One and then go out and throw a wire up and somebody say, well, you're not as loud now. And again, conditions can change in an hour. So that's not a fair assumption either. So I would like to test it.
But isn't an Eagle One and a wire almost the same thing? Only it's just vertical and straight up and down. Because what the Eagle One antenna is, it's a wire about X amount. You know what I mean?
Well,
there's no chokes on it. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. There might be an on there or something, but
there's
nothing. It's nothing. It's a bare antenna.
There's some kind of magic trick to it. I can tell you that. I don't know what it is, but there's something magic because I've seen people make homemade ones, and it doesn't produce the same results. I don't know what is in the magic in it. I couldn't tell you, but I've even used homemade ones.
Yeah, Steven has one, K3FAZ. He made a homebrew Eagle One. When I activate with him, he uses it.
It just doesn't produce the same results, and I don't know. Now I love some wire antennas. I've been using the Kilo Oscar 4 Fox Sierra Zulu antenna quite a bit lately. I love my spark plug, but I don't know. I get my best signal reports coming out of the Eagle One on a compromised antenna. I think people put a little too much into this for QRP. I can get PP man slot. You got to have as much stuff going your way as you can, But if you're doing QRO, it's just.
Well, that can get a little crazy too if you start splitting hairs on QRP, because you got to remember if you're using a compromised antenna, you're going to lose a percentage. So let's say you lose, for round numbers, you lose 10% on let's say a random wire. You're losing 10% of 5 watts. So you're really losing a lot less than somebody that's running 50 watts and losing 10% of 50. So you're really splitting hairs. I mean, it really is. And then you got to go back to 5 watts. If I go to 10, I'm only going to gain an S unit. If I go to 20, I gain an S unit.
You say that, but I've seen you run QRO, and you are gaining way more S units than you think you're gaining.
Well, again, when I'm running QRO, totally different antenna. I don't have an NFED that I can run 50, 60, 70 watts through. All my NFEDs are all QRP. I don't have a single NFED that I can run high power through. So I'm either using the Chameleon, which I really don't use anymore. I'm using the Eagle One and the why am I drawing a blank, Dan? The antenna on the back of my car. The ATOS, which I just got, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, a month ago. So I really don't have a comparison as far as a good high power wire versus one of those, because I don't have one. I did do the ATOS on 5 watts, and surprisingly, I was pleased. It did okay.
All right. So, Dan, you had a chart or something you wanted to show?
One of your stores just chimed in.
Larry, did you want to talk about the Predator?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hold on just a second. The Predator.
All right. So everyone, I believe, knows who Kilo Juliet 6 Echo Romeo is, Mr. Greg from California. This is his baby. It sounds complicated. It isn't. All it is a camera tripod aluminum tube with a mirror mount on it. And you stick a telescoping whip on top of it. And this is the key part to make it work, though, is elevated radials. So as you read through his paper here on it, the elevated radials makes this thing work. And Dan, if you would move, I think 3 pages down, wherever the radiation charts are at. Yeah, so there's one of them looking at it from the side and the top. Yep. Yeah, with the elevated radials, SWR is really good. But the color ones are even better, the donuts. Yeah. So, yep, great low angle radiation off that antenna. So, and everybody's heard him. So, I mean, it works.
Yeah. So it looks like a takeoff angle of about what, 2.3 degrees around
Yeah,
there?
2 to 5. Yeah, somewhere 3 to 5 degrees, something like that. It's really good. Yep, and there's the construction of it. That's
Pretty simple.
Yeah, very simple. $50 tripod, $5 aluminum tube, mirror mount that probably everybody's got in the junk box. Now Greg uses a Chameleon. When I tested this in the backyard, I put the Wolfer coil whip on top of it, and I just brought it down to 6 inches or whatever to make it match for 20.
You can't argue with that SWR.
Yeah. No.
So do you find that elevator radials work better than on the ground radials?
Honestly, just a backyard test with my regular coil setup and this, no, not really. So, but again, James was talking about it earlier. Depends on time of day, what the sunspot conditions were that day. I was in the backyard, so very good, very likely band conditions were crappy that day.
When you start talking about radials, you can go down the whole rabbit hole of ground mounted, elevated versus each other, and ground mounted depends on what your soil composition is and how well it couples with the ground. Yeah, I mean, you could have this stream for 2 hours and talk about this, but
right. Yeah.
And get nobody to agree.
yeah. And getting everybody to agree.
Yeah, exactly. So my preference on this, I go in, activate a park. I want to be set up in 5 minutes, and I want to be torn down in 5 minutes. Yeah. For the, I don't know. I need to go out and test it when it's a really good day, but from my 1 or 2 times perspective, that marginal performance at worth the 5-10 extra minutes to set it up.
Yeah. I mean, if I ran radials, I'd run ground mounted.
Oh, yeah.
One, I don't want to. I mean, if I go from 40 meters to 20 meters, I want to swap bands. I mean, I don't want to sit there and have to change out my radials,
right?
Stuff like that, because you have to tune them if you get over like a meter above ground is what they say.
Yeah, right.
And to be honest with you, I don't run any ground radials. On my Eagle One, I hook the ground strap to the frame of my truck, and that's my counterpoints. The whole frame of my whole big ass truck.
Yeah, and on my Wolfer coil, I use 4 16.5-foot radials, all connected to one ground clamp. And I just hook it on the leg, throw them out at 90 degrees apart.
Yep.
So
this is kind of why I invited the people that invited. I didn't know where Larry would stand on it. I know where PP Man stands. PP Man hates elevated radials.
I hate radials. I'm like Larry. My antenna deployment is 2 minutes. My 17-foot mast and my wire, it literally takes me longer to take it off the winder than it does to put the whole antenna up.
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes, less than 2 minutes.
Well, taking it off the winder is part of setup.
I know, but I'm just saying to set the whole antenna up is 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I got a spike for the antenna for the antenna mast, and I got a spike for the end of the line. I got no guy wires because I'm only 17 foot tall. Yeah. Never had it blow down, not even at the beach when I stab it in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry. I take that back. One time it did fall down. Yeah.
All right. So now Tall Guy, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure likes elevated radials. Tall Guy, want to chime in?
I'm for ground mounted, but I mean, when I'm using that homebrew buddy stick, I got my radial marked off at, each distance, and I throw that on the ground, and, I just roll it out to, wherever the mark is, say that's 40 meters. I clamp it off. That's the distance I set on the ground. If I want to go really exact, like if I'm going to hang out for a while, I'll actually go for the right distance in SWR. If not, I'll use the tuner because that mark's pretty much close enough. And I can get FT8 with that and sideband, but that's just laying right on the ground,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my preference. I don't know if you consider that elevated. I mean, they're not underground, but I believe the ground really helps for propagation, especially soil conditions and moisture in the ground. I think that plays a role. That's just my personal opinion. You saw that buddy stick. We crushed it when we were out on our activation, James, and that's just a little, I don't know if you can see that. That's the 40 meter coil I put on it, and a little PVC, little connector, and that's what plugs in, and little coax, and sitting on a tripod. That's all I got. I could set that up faster than PP Man can set up his little whatever he's got there.
Well,
That's my 17-foot mast.
Wow, mine's
It's,
longer than yours.
Well, you're a tall guy. You better be. Yeah, that's my 17-foot mast. I just unscrew the bottom cap, stick a spike in the end of it, and yeah.
All right. So for myself, first off, I'm not a radial person. Do radials help? Yes, they help. Do you need them if you are an activator in POTA? No. Will it help you if you're going to be in the park for hours and hours and hours making a lot of contacts? Yes. Will you make contacts without them? Yes. I've used ground radials. I've used elevated radials. I can set up the Buddy Stick Pro on 20 meters with elevated radials in under 2 minutes. I've done it, and I actually have video of that, actually. I can set up a vertical in like a minute and a half. I can set up my end-fed half wave in about 2.5, 3 minutes, and that's with my mast. So they're all, good setups, but radials is like, to me, is like a preference thing, and I'm going to get some hate for saying that. Some people's going to like elevated. Some people's going to hate elevated. Some people's. All right, let's just go ground radial. Since everybody here was a ground radial person, yours is cut for the band, tall guy?
Measured to the band, I would say yes. It has to be with that specific antenna.
Okay, PP Man, what's your? If you were using ground radials, what are you using?
Remember, I used them when I first started using the Eagle One. I was using 80-foot of ground radials. Oh, the elevated radials? No,
no, ground. We're only talking ground now.
Okay, ground radials. I was using 80 feet on the Eagle One, and to be honest, I don't see a difference between grounding the car or using the radials.
Okay, a tall guy. I mean, Larry. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Radials are equal to half wave on 40.
Half wave on 40. Dan?
I use my truck. If I throw out radials, like if I use the Eagle One on the tripod, I got a couple of 33 feet, but it really doesn't matter the length when they're on the ground. It's the amount of copper you have on the ground.
Well,
I got to agree with.
I'm sorry, James. I was just saying, are your vehicles bonded? Those ends that are on there, are you bonding your vehicles? Because a lot of people don't, and they run into problems with that as well.
Every panel I have them, everything's bonded on my vehicle.
And mine is not. Any more than factory.
Now, to be honest, all right, so when I bonded my vehicle and before, I don't tell a difference. I really can't tell a difference between before I bonded it and after I bonded it. So.
Same here.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, if I'm in my vehicle, I do not use radials. Of course, I'll throw the Eagle One up. My vehicle is not bonded other than with West Virginia rust. And that's the magic of it, I believe. But I don't use radials. If I use a drive-on mount, I do use radials. And I use the same radials with my Eagle One, my Wolf River coil, my MFJ that PP Man was talking about earlier. I use the same radials for all my stuff. And it's 3 33 foots. I would like to change that to 9 11 foots, same amount of radials, less space, but I use the same radials for everyone.
Yeah, and Eric brought up a good point. That's why the magic carpet, metal screen, Faraday blanket, whatever the hell
Faraday
people are
blanket.
using.
There you go.
Yeah, nowadays that they work so well because that is a lot of mass on the ground.
Yes, absolutely. I actually wanted to have somebody on here that had been using it, and we was gonna talk about that as well. But I really want to try that out because I think it will work great. But now, with the drive-on mount, like I said, I typically will use 3 radials because I'm not grounding to my vehicle like I would on my hitch mount.
Right.
Last night, I went out. I did a late shift. I was at a park that I hate. I hate going there. It's a little stupid parking lot. It's right beside the road. There's power lines all over the place. In fact, it was so black, I was like shining lights up in the sky, making sure I wasn't running Eagle one into one. But I didn't use a single radial. And, 40 minutes later, I had 132 contacts.
Just take your ground strap and hook it up to the neutral line on the pole.
But
you got a 50-50 shot.
So,
disclaimer: don't do that if you're watching the stream.
That's only for James.
Only do that if you're watching the PP Man live stream.
Hey, you'll be fine. The wire's on the inside and the pole is fiberglass.
There you go.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
All right, let's talk about fiberglass. We're going to go off topic here. Let's talk about fiberglass. You get people that say that fiberglass causes interference when you use a fiberglass mask. PP Man, you use one, correct?
Mine's carbon fiber, and I'm the one that should be saying people say carbon fiber is really bad.
Yeah, carbon fiber. My bad. I missed.
Yeah, mine's carbon fiber. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I mean, keep in mind, my antenna is not running vertically along the mast itself. It's an inverted V position. It passes by the carbon fiber for a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
So it's I don't see it. The manufacturer of the mast even tested it scientifically, saw no difference. I've never heard fiberglass be a problem, but I'm here to say that I don't think carbon fiber affects it at all.
Yeah. I don't know why that just popped into my head, but you mentioned it, so I wanted to talk about that for a second. All right. Anybody else got anything to say about radials?
Run them if you got them. The best antenna you got is the one you got in the air, and run it how you want to.
A lot of the parks that I'm in, I just don't have the room to run radials.
I see that, but you can make them happen, and you can't run them in the pattern that you typically would run them, but you can run the radials, and it still does help a little. But again, it all comes back to how long am I going to be in the park and how many contacts do I want to make?
Hey, here we go. I did have my random wire up one time at Lakeport State Park on the beach, and I had the wire going towards Virginia, the counterpoise, which is a ground radio. I had it going towards Virginia, and Tom couldn't hear me, and he's basically 90 degrees to that. He texted me and asked me to move because he knew what antenna I was using. He asked me to move the wire towards him, and we made a contact. So was that luck? I don't know.
All right, here we'll go random question like this. If you're going out and you're throwing up an in-fed half wave, do you go north and south? Do you go east and west? PP Man.
Depends. It does depend. I typically go north and south because I'm that way. I'm hitting, because you look at where I am. I'm lined up with pretty much the border of the United States, so I'm headed towards the East Coast. But I have no. Let's see today. Well, today I was east and west, and that's why I went to Florida. because you are broadband on inverted V, so you're going from the sides mostly. You can still feed off the other direction. But today I was east and west, yes, and I was far south. Does it help me going above me? No, because there's really nobody above me other than the few that are in Sarnia and Barrie, and I have no problem going in any part of Toronto area or anything like that, even if I'm running east and west. Toronto's due east of me.
Tall guy, what about you?
Generally, I don't have a direction choice. Wherever I park, I look up and say, that's the branch I want to get that throw line up to and get that bag up to. And I chuck it up there, and there's people that work me and say, are you vertical or horizontal? And I say, yep. The way that wire goes through the tree is how I am. I'm not north, south, east, west. I'm just trying to get that wire as high in the tree as possible, and where I can get it out of the tree easy too when it starts to get dark. Because game lands up here in Yinzer Nation, when it gets dark, So, I got to be able to get out of there when it's time to go.
And like he says, I've had where I've thrown a wire up into a tree, and let's say it's running north and south, and I'm on the low side on the north end. So theoretically, the antenna is bouncing off the ground and back up as soon as it leaves the antenna, or the other direction. It's going above me. It's going towards Canada, and I'm catching people in the south with no problem. So I don't know. The direction of the antenna, I don't know that it really matters.
All right, Larry, what do you think?
I kind of agree with Mike. My home antenna, I've had it running north, south, east, west. I finally settled on from northeast to southwest. I really didn't notice anything different. Height matters more than anything.
My home antenna runs north south. The high end is away from is north, and it's 70 feet in the air, and the low end is 10 feet off the ground. And I've been everywhere with that thing.
Yeah.
Dan?
All depends on what band.
255 feet of wire.
No, it does, because say if your antenna is a little bit broadsided, it might work better broadsided on, say, 10 meters versus 40. For a regular wire, in my personal opinion, for an end-fed, it doesn't make that much difference. For an inverted V, your lobes will be better broadsided if you're trying to get weak stations on your broadside and stuff like that. My inverted V at the house here is kind of northwest southeast, so it covers most of the United States from where I am here in Georgia. If you're going to flat top a dipole, you're going to be more directional. So that's when you have to really figure out what broadside you want where. So when you flat top, you're going to be more directional on it. If you inverted V, you're less directional, you're more omni, but you do have smaller lobes that you got to do with. But for out in the park, I throw it up in the tree. I mean, and it doesn't seem to really matter.
All right. And as for me, I'm a pod activator. I'm going to make contacts. I'm just like tall guy. I look and I'm like, ooh, that branch right there. Or even if it's not that branch, because a lot of times, see, I'm not that guy that has to be 70 foot up in the tree. Yeah, I like to be, but I'm also that guy that will go out and run my 7-meter pole up and lean it in a tree. I was like, ooh, that tree's got a good branch right there, about 21 feet high. That's where I want, and I'll run it right there. I'm not real picky on it, but there are people. I've seen people park their vehicles certain directions for Eagle ones and everything, and it just people. Some people are really particular about that, and I was just curious your all's thoughts.
There's guys that are real anal about everything that has to do with with the hobby, and antennas mostly is if you ever get into a discussion with a group of guys, antenna is always like the biggest discussion. And you got guys that are just so super anal about, like residency. Their antennas have to be resident, otherwise they won't use it. I'm not that way.
That's a good point that Eric brings up. Download MMANA.
Yeah.
You can model your own antenna, the length of your wire, how high it is above ground, and you can look at the models for it. And you know exactly where your lobes are. You know what your takeoff angles are. there's no guessing. So,
yeah. And you got to remember
and
when you're doing
have
POTA,
broadside.
Terry, why are you upside down? When you're doing POTA, you're just there for 10 contacts, or in James's case, in my case, 12, as a bare minimum. And every day I walk away happy because I made, the contacts. And Thomas Witherspoon. Remember, James, you watched that video where he just took a wire and threw it over a bunch of bushes. Never even erected it. He just laced it across a bunch of bushes. It was no more than 2 feet off the ground. Made plenty of contacts.
So thanks for the super sticker, Terry. Appreciate it. And I see we got the third place battle for Wallback in the chat here. Back-to-back conversations here for the big battle of the Wallback, the third place battle. Oh, and Dan's trying to provoke Terry into going out there right now.
I think on Sunday for shenanigans, we should get them both in boxing gloves. At Wallback.
At Wallback.
We can make a ring out of radials.
Oh, God. And as they both roll down the hill, me and Dan will activate.
That's right.
And Dan will take over third place.
I'll get my kilo before he does.
Are you going to Georgia, Dan? I mean,
I live here.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Are you in?
Eventually. I mean, I don't know when.
I don't know yet.
Probably for the family reunion. Dan's my cousin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Aren't we all cousins?
No, I had somebody ask me. I was talking to somebody on the phone and said, "Hey, do you have a cousin in Georgia named Dan?" And I just started laughing. Said he sounds just like you, and his name sounds the same. And I'm like, his name is like M-U. Mine is M-O. How does that sound the same?
That is great.
Dan can sound like a lot of people.
That's right.
Oh, Lord.
I'll do a whole activation. You'll think I'm somebody else.
You'll think there's 6 operators.
But anyway, we got about 10 minutes, and I wanted to touch on the last thing, and that's spotting. And this is where I go into my rant. I normally only rant on shenanigans, but I had another one today. So here we go, Dan. And getting ready, get your popcorn. So today, I'm out activating, and my spots aren't working real good, and they're not updating the. I'm in the field, and I go to a frequency, and I call as this frequency and use 4 or 5 times, and heard nobody. So I started activating on it, and the second hunter that got me was Larry here, and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that Whiskey Zero Charlie Golf Charlie and Jeremy was on this frequency a couple minutes ago." I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll move." So I go to the spots now, and I put moving. Right then, it loaded. It said moving. And as I'm getting ready to turn the dial, I hear Whiskey Zero, Charlie Golf. I don't know if they were taking a break or what they were doing, but they were loud once they came through. So they wasn't on there when I was calling this frequency and use. And I parked them, and they never even knew I was there. So I parked them. And as I'm getting ready to turn after that, some guy's on there, and he's telling them, "There's 2 POTA stations on this frequency. There's 2 POTA stations on this frequency." I'm like, "Dude, look at the spots. I already said I'm moving." But anyway, so I go and I make 3 or 4 contacts on my new frequency, and it dies. Like it totally dies. And I'm like, man, my first activation killed it. Maybe PP Man was right, and it just hit me a couple hours later. I'm like, what's going on? And I go over to the POTA spots, and this guy has respotted me back on their frequency, saying there's 2 POTA stations on this frequency. And I'm like, no, there's not. I'm on another frequency. So I spot again. I'm like, do not change my frequency.
As Bugs Bunny would say, what a maroon.
But I don't know what it is about people and my spots that they change my frequencies. They change my parks. Like, do you guys have this issue? I mean, does anybody have this issue but me?
Yeah.
I've had it a couple times. Mostly it's you call QRT, and then you look and you're still up because somebody came in after you.
Speaking of funky spots, let me share this. I've had this happen on sideband. Remember during the plaque event? I think 2 times during the plaque event, there are activators that couldn't hear each other, but they were on the same frequency on 20 meters. And they happened to call CQ at the same time, and it lined up perfectly, and I worked them both at the same time. Okay. So I got a 2-for-1 deal. This happened to me today, and I took a screenshot of it. Let me find it. All right. If anybody can tell me what's weird about this, this is CW. So one's on 14063 in Illinois. One is on 14063.1 in Wisconsin. They can't hear each other on 20 meters. They called CQ at the same time. I answered, got 2 CW contacts, 2 parts of 1 call. So it finally happened on CW as well. I thought that was pretty cool.
It's kind of like deer hunting. I had a buddy one time, and we were walking in. We both leased land, and we were walking in. We had a juncture where I would always go to the right, and he would always go to the left. We had our spots set up. We were walking in one time, and he's like, "I ain't even gonna have to hunt today. There's my meat right there."
That's
and
right.
he throws up his gun and he shoots this doe. So we both walked out there, to get his doe. I was going to help him, get it back, and then I was going to go hunt. We get out there. There's 2 deer laying there. There was 2 deer perfectly lined up, and he shot right through both of them, and they both dropped on the spot.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of like that right there. But
no. All right. So the rant's about the spots. Yeah. Don't change my spot. I know James, if he's in a 2-fer, he spots one of those parks specifically because he wants to. Don't change the spot to the other park, because that causes me and everybody else as a hunter who hides their hunted spots for him to show back up in a new park. Then all of a sudden he gets a lot of duplicates.
It's not that I specifically want the certain park up there. It's that right there. It's the fact that if I spot 1823, yes, I'm also in 4572. But if you go up and put 4572, I get 10 hunters that's already hunted me doing that right there, calling me back, and I'm like,
yep.
I just worked you. Yep. So it and I'll be honest, if the guy's calling the last call, pay attention if you're going to respot him. I don't mind that you respot me, but if I'm calling last call, make sure I didn't go QRT, because I get that a lot. I've been driving down the road.
Oh, I'm gonna put that from now on. There you go.
Yep.
Sir, I've been driving down the road and be like 30 minutes later, I'm almost to my next park, and my ham alerts goes off. I'm in my ham alerts because of several reasons. One, I have a lot of stalkers, but I'm 30 minutes out of QRT. Like my band should be flipping off there, and all of a sudden I get a ham alert and I look and it's me spotting at that park again. I've also been driving down the road, not even activated at all that day, and show up spotted in Illinois. I'm in West Virginia.
I got to get me a T-shirt like Larry. Just hold it up there. QRT means QRT.
Yep.
I mean, it's over and over and over that I have issues with people in these spots. I don't get it. But that really made me mad today, because here I am trying to get to another park. I got to get back for the stream, and my whole pileup was 4 people, and then it went away totally. And I'm like, where did everybody go?
Well, to comment on Eric's comment, if you do that, if POTA controls it and only the activator controls it, when you have a case where you can't spot yourself, then no one can spot for you. If I read that correctly.
That's fine. What I know at one point POTA was working on
they still are
some sort of GUI to put in there, and once the activator puts a note in there, it'll stay on everybody's spot or whatever. So if I put QRT and somebody respots me, it's going to go back to QRT.
Like a sticky comment from an activator or something like that.
I'll tell you what else they do to me. I'll put hopping, and I'll move over to CW, and I'll go and I'll spot my frequency in CW, and I'll get 2 or 3 contacts. I was like, really? That's all it's going to hunt me on CW? And I look at the spotting page, and I'm respotted on SSB.
Or when you spot on 60 meters and you use whatever crazy crap that Yaesu does, and then a real ICOM user comes in here and spots you on the actual frequency you're on, it'll cause your spot to flip too. So.
Yep, and not only that, it'll also cause you if you're one of those people that want confirmed QSOs in QRZ or Logbook of the World, you're not going to get them if you're logging a ICOM frequency, because that's not what my log's going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, if you put what your ICOM frequency is, it will not match up with mine, because the frequency I spot on is exactly what my radio says, so that's what it's logging. Matter of fact, a lot of times I'll have my little cable hooked to my laptop into my computer, and it does all that for me. It does.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got it, and sometimes I don't. But I try to remember to grab it. It's just I don't have it right now, so it's been annoying. I have to go back and I'll tell you why I like to bring that, because I'm the world's worst. and it's your all's fault. All you people out there in the chat right now, I know there's somebody in the chat that's guilty of it. I'll hit hopping. I will go to a frequency on CW or something, and I'll find it. I'll hit tune to make sure I'm tuned up before I could even ask anything, before I can change my log or anything.
Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha November.
Somebody hits me,
again.
And then somebody else hits me. And I'm normally like four people, and before I get spotted, and I don't totally forget to change frequency, and then I look at my log and I was like, oh crap, I got to remember where to start CW and rechange all this. And
I got to make a comment before the stream ends. Terry was louder than Dan today.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'll make the comment. Thank you very much, Mike, for the super chat. And Terry, I'm going to disagree with PP Man as I would always, because he's normally wrong. And Dan was louder than you today.
I do the same thing, Eric. If you're an activator and you're listening to the stream right now and you spot yourself gone hunting, I'm going to QRT you. Because I don't want to see it.
That's why if I am going to hunt somebody, I'm not going to put gone hunting. I'm going to put hopping, and then I'm going to go get, because first off, we all know I don't hunt, but if just say somebody popped up in my ham alerts that I need to get for some reason, and chances are it's going to be a soda activation. Sorry, guys. But I'll jump over there and grab them real quick, and then I'll head to my frequency. Either that, or I like to make the people really wait, just waiting on the CW frequencies to bust my butt, and I'll just go take a leak.
That's the way you get your pilot back. Is you say, all right, last call 40 meters, and all of a sudden you're there for another 45 minutes.
Listen here,
that's exactly what it is.
I would love to get only 1 to 3 more after that. There are times that I've spent 40 minutes calling last call. Matter of fact, night before last, or it may have been last night, I hit QRT and was just working the people that was in the file. Kept going, hit another QRT because somebody respotted me. Kept working the people in the file. Look, somebody's respotted me again. I QRT'd 10 times, calling last call, and they're still just piling in.
Yeah. Oh, Izzo, make sure you take care of Kyle and his chaperone.
Yeah, that's my mom, Izzo. Kyle's my mom.
Yeah.
So you gotta treat her like a lady. Thank you very much for the super chat, Charlie Golf Charlie.
Charlie Golf Charlie.
Go pal. All right, guys, it's an hour in. We are going to head over to the Patreon after chat. If you'd like to join us and you're not a Patreon, you can head over to Patreon and get a free 7-day trial as a top activator and check it out. Just go over there and sign up, and then hit me and Dan a message up, and we'll get you access. Dan, if you'll give Larry temporary access to come over tonight since he's on the stream, everybody else has it. And that's where we're going to be. thank you guys for all the super chats and for hanging out with us tonight. And hopefully you learned something or just think we're morons. 73, everybody.
And harder.